Wade in the water, wade in the water, chill.
Have you ever wanted to make a real difference for the Lord and for others? John Rankin did. John Rankin was a Presbyterian minister in Ripley, Ohio in the 1800s. And in 1828, he built this house that you see behind me up on a hillside overlooking the Ohio River. Within his heart was a deep concern about the slavery that was prevalent in our country at that time. And so the Rankin House became a spot on the Underground Railroad where people could flee from the slavery of the South, cross over the Ohio River into freedom here on the Ohio side of the river. And so his house became a hospitality center for escaping slaves. He and his wife Jean and their 13 children provided safe passage to nearly 2,000 slaves that escaped across the Ohio River and found lodging at their home. And as a result of that, what happened was it made a difference. Harriet Beecher Stowe was a visitor here, and she heard him tell firsthand the story of assisting a slave mother who was carrying her young child, leaping across cakes of ice on the thawing Ohio River. When that took place, she escaped the bounty hunters that were pursuing her. As a result of that, her story was made famous in the book Uncle Tom's Cabin, and Harriet Beecher Stowe was able to cast a national awareness on a subject that many people would prefer not to have been informed about. What will you do to make a difference with the racism that still lingers 200 years later in our country? We're talking about making a difference. How can you make a difference? Well, we're standing outside of the Great American Ballpark, and I want to tell you a story about someone who made a difference. If Crosley Field were still in existence, we'd be standing in front of Crosley right now. But in 1947, at a game one night in May, the Brooklyn Dodgers came to Cincinnati to play, and this was at a time when Jackie Robinson had just begun to play and had broken the race barrier as the first African-American player to be in the major leagues. As the Brooklyn Dodgers were taking the field and Jackie Robinson stepped out into the infield, the crowd at Crosley began to jeer and taunt and shout death threats and throw objects onto the field. And it was a very painful moment for this great athlete. But that moment was made better when his teammate, Pee Wee Reese, one of the co-captains that year on the team, ran and stood beside him, and Reese put his hand on the shoulder of Jackie Robinson in a show of visual solidarity for this player of another race, saying, "He's my friend, leave him alone." And that action made a difference in the tone of that game. And that acceptance made a difference in the major league sport of baseball, and it's transcended into all sports today as those racial barriers have fallen and are falling. My challenge to you is, when you see racism in your life, on the job, or a comment made, or in your neighborhood, what are you doing to make a difference?